Hi, and welcome to English-Fabule. Are you learning English? Great. Let's learn English with a very interesting story. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. Let's get started.
One day each year, South Korea becomes very quiet. This special day is called Suneung Day. It is the day when many high school students take a very important test. This test is called the College Scholastic Ability Test, or Suneung for short. For these students, it is the most important day of their year. On Suneung Day, the whole country almost stops. Over 500,000 students take this test. Because of this, many things change across the nation. For example, commercial airplanes do not fly during a special part of the test. During the English listening exam, which lasts for about 35 minutes, around 140 flights are stopped. This includes planes coming to South Korea and leaving it. Any planes already in the air must fly very high, above 3,000 meters. This is to make sure there is no noise. The students need to hear clearly for this part of the exam. This shows how important the Suneung test is to South Korea. Police officers also help students on this day. They are not just for stopping crime. They help students get to their test centers on time. If a student is running late, a police car can take them quickly. Police officers might even bring a student's lunch to the test center if it was forgotten. Everyone wants to make sure students have the best chance to do well. Offices often open later to help reduce traffic. Stock markets also open late. Even construction work stops for a while. The whole country works together to support these young test takers. This exam is not just any test. For many students, it helps decide which university they can go to. It can also affect their job and their life in the future. That is why Suneung Day is a very big deal in South Korea. It is a day full of hope and pressure for many young people. 2. The Big Test Day. The Suneung is a very important test for students in South Korea. It is known as a long and difficult exam. Most students begin the test early in the morning, around 8:40 a.m. They do not finish until late in the afternoon, often around 5:45 p.m. This means the Suneung lasts for about 9 hours. Imagine sitting and focusing on a test for almost a whole workday. It is a true marathon of the mind, testing not just knowledge, but also a student's ability to stay focused and strong for many hours. Some students who choose extra subjects might even stay until much later, making their test day nearly 13 hours long. During this long day, students take tests in 5 main subjects. First, there is the Korean language. Then they have mathematics. Next is English, which includes a listening section that caused airplanes to stop. After English, students choose either social sciences or natural sciences. Finally, some students take a test in a second foreign language, or Hanja, which are classical Chinese characters. In total, students typically answer about 200 questions throughout these different sections. Every question is important, as the score from this one day will shape many things. A high score on the Suneung is very important. In South Korea, it is the main way to get into a top university. There are three most famous universities called Sky Universities: Seoul National University, Korea University, and Yonsei University. Getting into one of these top schools usually requires an excellent Suneung score. Without a good score, it can be very hard to get into a prestigious university. This makes the test a critical moment in a young person's life. A student's future career and social status depend heavily on their Suneung results. Many people believe that going to a top university helps them find a good job and have a successful life. Therefore, this one test can open doors to better employment opportunities and a higher position in society. Students spend their entire high school years, and often many years before that, preparing for this single day. It is seen as a gateway that decides much of their future. This intense pressure highlights how central education is to success in South Korean society. 3. Many students. The 2025 Suneung test had a record number of students. Over 554,000 young people took the exam. This was the largest number in 7 years. To understand why so many students took the test, we need to look back almost 2 decades. Most of these students were born in the year 2007. In South Korea, many people follow the lunar calendar and old traditions. The year 2007 was very special. It was known as the Year of the Golden Pig. This kind of year does not happen often, only about once every 600 years. Many parents believed that a child born in this specific year would be very lucky. They thought these children would have great success and a happy life in the future. Because of this strong belief, many more couples chose to have babies in 2007. The country saw a big increase in births that year, and hospitals for babies were very busy. So, the number of babies born in 2007 was unusually high. This meant that when these golden pig children grew up, they all reached high school at the same time. In 2025, this much larger group of students was all ready to take the Suneung test. This created a lot of extra pressure. With so many students taking the same exam, the competition became much stronger. It was much harder to get a high score, which is very important for entering a top university. This demographic shift made the 2025 Suneung a particularly intense and competitive year for all test takers. Their believed luck at birth meant they faced more rivals for their future. 4. Studying after school. After school, many students in South Korea do not go home to play. Instead, they go to private cram schools. These schools are called hagwons. Hagwons are a very big part of the education system there, almost like a second school for most children. In fact, about 8 out of 10 South Korean students attend hagwons. They go to these private schools to get extra help with their studies and prepare for tests, especially the important Suneung exam. This widespread attendance shows just how deeply embedded private education is in daily life. Families in South Korea spend a lot of money on private education. It is a huge industry, growing bigger every year. In 2024, families spent about 30 trillion won, which is around 22.6 billion US dollars, on private lessons for students from kindergarten to high school. On average, a family spends about 590,000 won, or about 445 US dollars each month per student. This amount is a large part of many household budgets. For some families with school-age children, between 21 and 33% of their total household income goes to hagwons. This large financial investment highlights the intense focus on academic success. This system creates a big problem with fairness and equal chances. Not all families can afford the same quality of private education. Wealthy families, especially in areas like Seoul's Gangnam district, can pay for the most expensive hagwons and private tutors. These elite classes and specialized materials give their children a strong advantage. Children from poorer families often cannot get this extra help, or they attend less effective, cheaper programs. So, even though the Suneung test is the same for everyone on exam day, the years of preparation before the test are very different. This difference in resources means that students from rich families often have a much better chance to get into top universities. This pattern helps preserve existing privilege and makes it harder for students from less wealthy backgrounds to achieve upward social mobility. The idea that everyone has an equal chance is not always true when money plays such a big role. The pressure to study hard starts when children are very, very young. It is not just for teenagers preparing for university. Many children under 6 years old are already enrolled in private cram schools. Nearly 47.6% of all children under 6 are in hagwons. Some elite English academies even have 7-year-old exams for preschoolers to get in, and some families even try for a 4-year-old exam. This means that long before children enter formal schooling, they are already being evaluated and pushed into competitive academic environments. Childhood in South Korea often transforms from a time of play and exploration into a training ground for academic competition. This intense focus on early education shows how deeply the nation values academic success starting from the earliest years of a child's life. 5. A hard life for students. Life for students in South Korea can be very hard. The big pressure to study causes many mental health problems for young people. This is a very sad part of the education system. Many teenagers in South Korea feel very stressed and sad. The numbers are much higher than for adults. For example, between 10 and 15% of middle and high school students think about suicide. This is almost 10 times more than adults. Also, 1 to 3 in 10 teenagers feel depressed. This is 10 to 15 times more than adults. These numbers show a very serious problem. Sadly, suicide is the main cause of death for young people in South Korea. Around 4% of teenagers have thought about suicide. About one-third of these students said that school pressure was the reason. The problem is getting worse. In 2025, 3 art high school students in Busan died by suicide. They left messages about their stress from school and future jobs. This showed again how much pressure students feel. Students also do not get enough sleep. On average, middle and high school students sleep less than 6 hours each night. Doctors say teenagers need 8 to 10 hours. They spend many hours in private cram schools after regular school. On weekends, they study 6 to 9 hours every day. This means they have very little free time. Not getting enough sleep can cause health problems, make it hard to think, and increase mental illness. This strong focus on tests creates much psychological pain. The system makes many students feel anxious and lonely. They worry about their future and how one test can decide everything. It makes people ask if getting into a top university is more important than a student's happiness and health. Many people think the education system is too extreme and harmful for young people. 6. Why school is important. The focus on education in South Korea has a long history. Its roots are deep in old Confucian ideas. For many centuries, these ideas taught that learning is very important. They said that studying helps a person become better and strong. Education was a way to improve yourself and your place in society. These values are still very strong in South Korea today. They shape how people think about school and learning. After the Korean War, which ended in 1953, South Korea was a very poor country. It needed a way to become richer and stronger. Leaders decided that education would be the key. South Korea did not have many natural resources like oil or minerals. So it decided to invest in its people. By educating everyone, the country could build a strong economy. This plan worked very well. South Korea grew very fast and became one of the world's leading economies. Education became a big part of the country's identity and success. People believed that hard study always led to good results for both individuals and the nation. However, in the 21st century, some people question if this old system still works the best. South Korea still spends a lot of money on education. But studies show that this big spending does not always lead to more productive workers compared to other countries. Also, about half of all university graduates in South Korea end up working in jobs that are not related to what they studied. This means there can be a big difference between what students learn and what jobs are available. Changing the education system is very hard. Parents believe their children must do well in school to have a good life. Schools focus on preparing students for big tests. Private cram schools, called hagwons, make money from this system. Even the government finds it hard to make big changes. Some leaders have tried to make school less stressful. But often, Students just find other ways to study harder, like going to different hagwons. The old ways of thinking about education are very strong, and they keep the system much the same. 7. Schools in other countries. South Korea's Suneung test is very important, but many other countries have different school systems. Most nations do not use one single, all-important exam to decide a student's university future. For example, in the United States, students take tests like the SAT or ACT. However, these are just one part of university applications. Colleges also look at high school grades, extracurricular activities, and essays. Sometimes students have interviews. This is called a holistic approach. It means universities consider many things about a student, not just one test score. Other countries also use different methods. In the United Kingdom, A-levels are important, but other factors matter. Japan uses university entrance tests and sometimes individual university exams. Germany's system often relies on school-based assessments. These various approaches show diverse ideas about selecting university students. South Korea chose to focus heavily on the Suneung for fairness, but this has created challenges. Other countries also have issues. For example, the American SAT is criticized for benefiting wealthier students, and Germany's early education paths can limit social mobility. Every system tries to balance goals like quality and fairness. The South Korean government recognizes its system's issues and has tried reforms. President Yoon Suk-yeol, for example, asked schools to remove very difficult killer questions from the Suneung. Past governments tried to limit private cram school hagwon hours or add diverse university entry methods, and promoted student happiness. However, changing this system is very hard. The Suneung is deeply rooted in South Korean culture. Many parents believe a high Suneung score is vital for their child's success. Hagwons profit, and universities find the test efficient. Some worry that without the Suneung, admissions might become unfair. These strong reasons make major reforms very difficult. 8. What is next for Korea? Suneung Day is very important in South Korea. It shows the country's strong support for its students. Police help students get to tests, and airplanes stop flying. This shows how much the nation cares about education and the future of its young people. But this important day also highlights some serious problems. Students face extreme pressure. Many teenagers feel very stressed and sad because of the tough competition. The strong focus on one big test might not help all students equally, especially those from poorer families. Also, this system might not prepare students well for new kinds of jobs in the changing world. Many experts and citizens now say that South Korea needs big changes. They believe education should not cause so much stress for young people. They want schools to focus more on students' happiness and well-being. Some ideas include helping students be more creative and work together, instead of just competing for scores. Some even suggest stopping very early academic tests for young children. The main question for South Korea's future is this: what is the real purpose of education? Is it just to pick the best students for top universities and good jobs? Or should it also help every person grow, find their talents, and be a happy member of society? The Suneung system helped South Korea become a strong, educated country. But today, it also creates big problems for young people's mental health. The nation must think if this path is still the right one. It needs to find a balance between good schools and students' overall happiness and healthy lives. What do you think is the most important goal for education in any country?
Hey there! Just a second before you go. If you learned something new today, please give this video a like, write your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second, and it really, really helps to create even better English videos for you. Your support means the world. Thank you.